Dear viewers, today we are going to discuss the moral pattern in Emily Bronte's novel Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights is a haunting tale of love, revenge, and obsession set in the lonely moorlands of Yorkshire. It follows the lives of two households, Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange, across two generations. The novel is primarily centered around the intense and destructive relationship between Heathcliff and Catherine Earnshaw. Driven by bitterness and heartbreak, Heathcliff orchestrates a sadistic campaign of revenge, shattering families and leaving a trail of emotional ruin in his wake. Yet in the second generation, a softer resolution unfolds as next generation slowly heal from the past, hinting at redemption. Before we proceed with our discussion about the moral pattern in the novel, it would be pertinent to describe the main incidents of the story briefly. The main story is told in flashback and revolves around the character of Heathcliff, the adopted son of Mr. Earnshaw, the owner of Wuthering Heights. After Mr. Earnshaw's death, his son Hindley degraded Heathcliff to the position of a servant. Heathcliff found solace in his bond with Catherine, Mr. Earnshaw's daughter and Hindley's sister. As they grew older, Catherine chose to marry Edgar Linton, a rich and gentle man from Thrushcross Grange, in pursuit of social status. This broke Heathcliff's heart. He disappeared for some years and returned as a wealthy man, determined to take revenge on those who had wronged him. When he returned, he married Edgar's sister Isabella, a marriage that caused grief to Catherine and suffering to Isabella. Heathcliff also destroyed Hindley's life. His revenge did not stop here. It operated like a curse. It moved from one generation to the next, haunting both houses. He kept playing God, manipulating the lives of Catherine's daughter Cathy and Hindley's sons Hareton. Only after his death was the curse lifted and things began to normalize with the union of Cathy and Hareton. While the novel is driven by powerful emotions and striking characters, it also raises profound moral questions. Bronte explores the darker aspects of human nature, challenging the strict moral codes of Victorian society. The novel does not offer clear heroes or villains, rather it presents characters full of contradictions. Through themes of cruelty, love, suffering and endurance, Bronte paints a moral universe that is neither conventionally Christian nor traditionally romantic. Instead, the novel suggests a wild, instinctive and often unorthodox morality, one shaped more by elemental passions than by social norms or religious doctrines. In this context, the following discussion explores the moral pattern in Wuthering Heights through these three lenses: morality, religion, and the demonic. Morality. From its first publication, Wuthering Heights shocked Victorian readers with what they perceived as vulgar depravity. The novel does not shy away from portraying intense violence, verbal cruelty, and psychological torment. Characters curse, manipulate, and harm each other in deeply disturbing ways. Yet Bronte does not moralize overtly. Heathcliff is perhaps the most morally ambiguous character, orphaned, brutalized, and unloved. He becomes both victim and villain. His desire for revenge is not portrayed as noble, yet it stems from real emotional trauma. Similarly, Catherine's selfishness and impulsivity cause immense suffering, but her intense yearning to transcend social constraints evokes a strange sympathy. This blurred moral line unsettled early readers who expected novels to offer clear moral instruction. But Bronte instead presents a world where morality is not defined by external codes but by internal storms. The contrast between the wildness of Wuthering Heights and the restraint of Thrushcross Grange symbolically reflects this tension between passion and propriety. In the younger generation, however, there is a glimmer of conventional moral order. Cathy and Hareton, through mutual kindness and patience, repaired the damage caused by their elders. This suggests a moral movement from chaos to restoration. Religion. Though Bronte came from a devout Anglican family, Wuthering Heights reflects an unconventional and sometimes critical stance toward religion. Traditional Christian figures are either absent or satirized, most notably in the character of Joseph, the old servant, whose grim, joyless Methodism is mocked throughout the book. Bronte does not engage in religious preaching. Rather, she reveals a longing for spiritual experience that is more mystical than doctrinal. Catherine's famous statement, "What were the use of my creation if I were entirely contained here?" expresses a hunger for a transcendent identity, a yearning beyond the material. Heathcliff's grief over Catherine's death also defies religious convention. He demands that her ghost haunt him forever, rejecting the idea of heavenly peace. The afterlife in Wuthering Heights is imagined not as a Christian paradise but as a continued union of souls, restless, passionate, and earthly. The demonic. The novel's exploration of morality reaches its most unsettling point in the portrayal of the demonic. Heathcliff is often described in terms that blur the line between man and supernatural creature. He is a ghoul, a devil, a goblin, and even referred to as an afreet by Charlotte Bronte, a term for a destructive spirit in Arabian mythology. His obsessive passion and unrelenting cruelty give him an almost otherworldly force. German theologian Rudolf Otto described Wuthering Heights as a supreme example of the demonic in literature, a quality he linked with both terror and awe. This interpretation aligns with the romantic fascination with the sublime and the supernatural, where spiritual power is felt more in wild nature and emotional extremes than in organized religion. Bronte's handling of Heathcliff as a demonic figure complicates the moral vein of the novel. He is both terrifying and tragic, evil and deeply wounded. Even after death, Heathcliff and Catherine seem to haunt the moors together, untamed, unrequited, yet strangely at peace in their own dark way. Their story challenges readers to consider morality not as a simple scale of good and evil, but as a storm of human desire shaped by suffering, longing, and the mystery of the soul. Conclusion. In Wuthering Heights, Emily Bronte constructs a moral universe that defies easy categorization, blending elements of harsh realism, spiritual yearning, and the supernatural. The novel resists traditional moral binaries by presenting characters whose actions, while often violent or cruel, emerge from deep psychological wounds and emotional intensity. Morality, rather than being imposed externally, is explored from within the characters' passions and struggles. Religion, though present in its institutional form through figures like Joseph, is often shown as cold, joyless, or hypocritical. In contrast, Catherine's spiritual longing and Heathcliff's tormented soul evoke a deeper, more intuitive sense of the sacred, one that exists beyond doctrine. The demonic dimension further complicates the moral pattern, casting Heathcliff as both a tormentor and a tormented, a figure who seems to embody the primal forces of love, pain, and vengeance, yet Bronte stops short of endorsing absolute darkness. The novel's second generation, represented by Cathy and Hareton, offers a redemptive counterpoint, suggesting that healing and harmony are possible through empathy, education, and emotional renewal. In blending these strands, moral ambiguity, spiritual depth, and dark intensity, Wuthering Heights presents a haunting but ultimately hopeful vision of human nature, where suffering does not preclude redemption and where love, even in its more destructive form, carries the seed of transformation. Thank you very much for watching English Literature with Afzal Majid Shahir.